You, Yasharel, are worth much more than rubies. Today I wanted to talk about Jeremiah chapter 30. For a lot of us, we're living in times that may seem a little confusing and a little worrisome. But there is great joy for us because we have the best news network right in our very hands. And we don't have to be swayed by the deception. And we don't have to feel anxious in the times that we're living in. So today we're going to tune in Jeremiah chapter 30. And I want to read it for you. And I ask that you just see what the scriptures say. Don't just listen. Don't just read. But see what the scriptures say. And it reads, "The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah, saying, Thus spoke Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, saying, Write in a book for yourself all the words that I have spoken to you. For look, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall turn back the captivity of my people. Yasharel and Yahudah, declares Yahuwah, and I shall bring them back to the land that I gave to their fathers, and let them possess it. And these are the words Yahuwah spoke concerning Yasharel and Yahudah. For this is what Yahuwah said. We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask now and see if a man is giving birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins, like a woman in labor, and all faces turned pale? Oh, for great is that day. There is none like it, and it is the time of Yaakov's distress. But he shall be saved out of it. And it shall be in that day, declares Yahuwah of hosts, that I break his yoke from your neck, and tear off your bonds, and foreigners no more enslave them. And they shall serve Yahuwah their Elohim, and Dawid their sovereign, whom I raise up for them. And you do not fear, O Yaakov, my servant, declares Yahuwah, nor be discouraged, O Yasharel. For look, I'm saving you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. And Yaakov shall return and have rest and be at ease, with no one to trouble him. For I am with you, declares Yahuwah, to save you, though I make a complete end of all Gentiles, where I have scattered you, yet I do not make a complete end of you. But I shall reprove you in judgment, and by no means leave you unpunished. For thus said Yahuwah, your breach is incurable, your wound is grievous. No one pleads your cause to bind up. There are no healing medicines for you. All those loving you have forgotten you. They do not seek you. For I smote you as an enemy smites with cruel chastisement. Because your wickedness is great, your sins have increased. Why do you cry about your breach? Your pain is incurable. Because of your many wickednesses, because your sins have increased, I have done this to you. However, all those who devour you shall be devoured, and all your adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and those who exploit you shall be exploited, and all who prey upon you I shall make a prey. For I restore health to you, and heal you of your wounds, declares Yahuwah. For they have called you an outcast, saying, This is Zion, no one is seeking her. Thus said Yahuwah, See, I turn back the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have compassion on his dwelling places. And the city shall be built upon its own mound, and the palace stand on its right place. And out of them shall arise thanksgiving and the voice of those who are laughing. And I shall increase them, and they shall not diminish. And I shall esteem them, and they shall not be small. And his children shall be as before, and his congregation shall be established before me. And I shall punish all who oppress them. And his prince shall be from him, and his ruler shall come from among him. And I shall bring him near, and he shall approach me. For who is this who pledged his heart to approach me, declares Yahweh? And you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. See, the storm of Yahuwah shall go forth in a rage, a whirling storm. It bursts upon the head of the wicked. The burning displeasure of Yahweh shall not turn back until he has done and established the purposes of his heart. In the latter days, you shall understand it. And here we are. We are in the latter days. Long ago, when we used to read these chapters, we didn't really understand what it was about. We didn't know it was a letter to us, to the seed of Yasharel, us living in these last days. And here we are, finally living out this very part of prophecy. But I want to make sure that we have our expectations right. A lot of us are waiting to be delivered already. But look what Jeremiah says. He says in the beginning verses that Yahuwah said, "For look, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall turn back the captivity of my people, Yasharel and Yahudah, declares Yahuwah. And I shall bring them back to the land that I gave to their fathers, and let them possess it." But then, all of a sudden, there is a fear that comes upon Yirmiyahu. He says, "Ask now and see if a man is giving birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor, and all faces turned pale? Oh, for great is that day, there is none like it, and it is the time of Jacob's distress." And you're probably thinking, but we've been in distress already, Abayao. Like, we've already been in this for years, for hundreds and hundreds of years. But you have to understand, we are at the finish line almost. But that's when challenges get all the more harder, because you're running on your last breath and you're using every single bit and ounce of strength that you have to make it to the finish line. Yah has remembered us. He has. But just as a woman has reached the end of her pregnancy and is about to give birth, before she gives birth, she is at a point where the pain is the most excruciating. It is the most painful. Your feet are swollen. Your back hurts. You can't hardly sleep. You can't turn to the left. You can't turn to the right. The pain has increased. And we are at the point of time, just like a pregnant woman, where it is either death or life. Birth is not guaranteed when a woman is pregnant. It could be a live and thriving baby, or it can be a stillborn. It can be a live and thriving baby and you get to see your child be born, or you die in the process of the birth and your child lives. And we are at that point where we are the ones our nation dies so that that child can live. We're not all going to live and be born. It just is just not that way. And that is why we are currently entering the last lap, the last marathon of Jacob's trouble. where Yah pours out his full wrath on our nation. Those who are still stubborn, those who are still stiff-necked, and they will have to go through trials so that they can be refined, so that they can be born, because the old nation has to die. We have to die. We must be dead so that we can live. And that's the reason why we see here in Jeremiah chapter 30, it says, ask now and see if a man is giving birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor, and all faces turned pale? You think that Jacob's trouble ended a long time ago? Or that we are done now and we're about to watch the seas open? No. Our people are still in rebellion. And that rebellion must die so that we can live in the promises of Yah. And we are the forerunners. We are the forerunners. We are the ones that have awakened first, the first fruits of this awakening. And we must proclaim the righteousness of Yah in these last days. We must be the Jeremiahs. We must be the Moseses. We must be the Noahs, the Lots, the men of righteousness, that our souls, our ruach, are in anguish when we see our nation do blasphemies and wickedness against our Elohim. Because Yah says, for I am with you, declares Yah, to save you. Though I make a complete end of the Gentiles where I have scattered you, yet I do not make a complete end of you. But I shall reprove you in judgment, and by no means leave you unpunished. Everything you see going on right now is this very chapter. Because our nation must die to live. And it is a painful thought. It is frustrating to see how many times our people would prefer to return to their vomit than to be saved. It is frustrating to see how our people would prefer to be killed sometimes and lynched and fight their own battles than to turn to Yah. It is annoying and frustrating to see our people prefer to hold on to Christianity, the religion that enslaved us, instead of going back to the very word of Yah and just taking it at face value, knowing who they are, knowing whose they are, and being saved. Yah has to turn the fire up. But those of us who hold on to him, to cleave to him, who abide in him, who trust in him, who are unwilling to compromise, no matter who or what the cause is, will be saved. And those who we love, our kinfolks that we know and that we do not know, must go through the furnace so that they can be refined and the impurities can be purged from amongst our nation, and we can be cured, because it says, for thus says Yahuwah, your breach is incurable. There is an infirmity in Yasharel, and it cannot be cured unless there is a death. And through the death, there is a sowing. And through the sowing, there is life. And through the life, there is a multiplication. There is thriving. It flourishes. Yah doesn't want the old Yasharel. He wants the new one. And before we are taken out of captivity, we must go through the birthing process. But this birthing process is a death to the old us, a death to who we once were, and becoming who Yah wants us to be. That is why all these nations are turning against us. Oh, so you thought the lynching ended in Jim Crow era? Oh, You thought that the plantations were all done away with. We're still living on plantations. We're still building and getting nothing. We're still being abused and mistreated, and it's going to get worse. Because it is through affliction that the Father hears us. It is through the crying of his people that he will deliver us. Just as it said in Exodus, I have heard the cries of my people. I have heard their supplication. When we as a people are in anguish, not individuals, as a nation, because as a nation, we are one. And he says he will purge out the rebels from amongst us. But even still, as a nation, when our afflictions get worse, that is when Abba Yah will pour out his wrath and full-blown judgment on these nations. We have to be in anguish. We have to be in suffering, because even now, with the little bit of freedom we have, our people still are rebellious. It's 11:30 p.m. Yah has remembered us. But the cries haven't reached its climax yet. And that is why we are about to see, and we are currently seeing, the part where it says, ask now and see if a man is giving birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor, and all faces turned pale? Oh, great is that day, there is none like it, and it is the time of Yaakov's distress, but he shall be saved out of it. He shall be saved out of it. We are going to see the lynches. We are going to see them cutting up our bodies and publicly saying that we are beasts, we are animals, we are savages, we are untamed, we are sexually deprived of any righteousness, we are unclean, we are animals. We are going to see them publicly displaying us as wild and untamed beasts. They are going to put these militaries in our neighborhoods, in our cities, in our towns, where our population is the highest, because the war is not against America. It is against us. It is against Yasharel. But Yah's judgment is ready. That cup is tipping over, because as soon as they start that war against us, it's midnight. It's midnight in Babylon. It's midnight in Assyria. It's midnight in Egypt. It's midnight. Just make sure that you are not part of that judgment. Just make sure that you are the ones that Yah was talking about when he said, do not fear, O Yaakov, my servant, declares Yahuwah, nor be discouraged, O Yasharel, for look, I am saving you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. You have to be ready. Our deliverance is almost here. But our people, as a whole, will go through the fire. But us, as individuals, enter into your tents. Gather yourselves together. Hide yourselves. Plead the cause of our nation. Say, Abba Yah, we have sinned against you. You have remembered us in the land of our captivity. But yet, even still, we have our people who are stubborn and stiff-necked. and despise us for turning away from the very religion and culture and traditions and nations that have oppressed us. Today is the day that we recognize that we have officially entered into the days and the words and the prophecy of Jeremiah chapter 30. You are worth more than rubies, Yasharel. You are worth much more than a stone found in a cleft of a rock. You are the apple of Yah's eye. Be righteous. Be set apart for him. Because we are in these latter days. And our redemption is drawing nigh. So do not be discouraged. Do not be fearful of what you see. These are the birthing pains so that we can die to live. We must die to live. Because the old nation can't enter into the promised land. It is the new and the living seed that will flourish. Shalom.